Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
A very good Monday afternoon. Thanks so much for starting your week with us here on the Noon News. I'm Samantha Sullivan. Attorney General William Barr is scheduled to testify before the Senate Wednesday over his role in the release of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report. But his appearance before the House on Thursday remains up in the air. Nicole Killian has more details from Capitol Hill.
The White House is pushing back against threats from congressional Democrats to subpoena Attorney General William Barr if he doesn't testify before the House Judiciary Committee later this week.
Frankly, they're just acting really childish. It's almost embarrassing to the House Democrats the way that they're behaving.
The Attorney General is scheduled to testify before the House panel on Thursday over the release of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report. But now he's threatening not to show up after Democrats insisted the lawyers from the committee be allowed to ask some of the questions.
The best person we can hear from is Attorney General Barr to find out why, one, his summary or Cliff Notes version was so different from the facts, and two, why won't he just release the unredacted report?
House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler says Barr cannot be allowed to dictate the terms of the hearing. The two sides are still negotiating. This isn't the first time House Democrats have clashed with the Trump administration over whether individuals will be allowed to testify. Chairman Nadler has already subpoenaed former White House counsel Don McGahn to testify. The White House says it sees no reason why McGahn should testify and could try to block it.
Executive privilege is always an option. It's always on the table. But Don McGahn has already talked under oath for 30 hours. And this is just presidential harassment.
So he is
going to,
is he going to block McGahn?
I didn't say that. I said it's his right.
The Treasury Department has also refused a congressional request to turn over the president's tax returns. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
All right, now we're going to turn things over to Ed in the Weather Center. Ed, it was a crazy weather day yesterday all around the state.
That's for sure. I'm wearing my snowflake tie today, and there's a reason for it because we have something to talk about. First off, the biggest story yesterday was probably the wind, and we saw some extremely strong wind gusts, especially through central Montana. A lot of those winds topping off at 50 to 60 miles per hour, and then winds just kept going throughout the day, so a lot of those gusts hitting 40 plus miles an hour, and a lot of that into the eastern plains, even western Montana. You saw some strong wind gusts, but to go along with that, there was also a considerable amount of snow in some places, including 18 inches being reported around Rocky Boy. You see Zortman just a little over 10 inches, and those snowfall totals are pretty impressive for this time of the year. More snow on the way. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
All right, thanks, Ed. Well, the crazy weather authorities say is likely that the weather did play a role in a deadly boating accident Sunday in Lewis and Clark County. One person is dead and 5 others were taken to the hospital after 2 boats capsized on Upper Holter Lake. The sheriff's office believes the small fishing boats were traveling close together when they capsized. The body of one male victim was recovered and 5 other people were rescued and taken to a Helena hospital. Those 5 people are in stable condition. Deputies say wind and blowing snow made conditions extremely difficult, as you can see there on the video, but not just for the boaters, also for the rescue crews.
The conditions were obviously not the choice for anybody, either recreating or even to do what we do professionally, trying to do a rescue.
Now, authorities say there was also another boat nearby that was stranded against the rocks. Rescue crews were able to reach that boat and bring those people to safety. Well, along the High Line, one person is dead following a police pursuit early Sunday morning. According to Montana Highway Patrol, Havre police were chasing a stolen vehicle when it collided with another car just after 4 a.m. The driver of the stolen car was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver and passenger of the second vehicle survived the crash. Both were transported to a local hospital to be treated for their injuries. Montana Highway Patrol says the roads were wet at the time of the crash, and that speed is considered to be a factor. In Judith Basin County, reduced visibility and hazardous road conditions resulted in an accident that sent 5 people to the hospital. It happened around 7 a.m. Sunday. Emergency crews were called to a crash involving a semi and passenger car on Highway 87 near mile marker 15. The 5 individuals had to be removed from their vehicles and taken to a hospital. At this time, the extent of their injuries is unknown. Well, it's kind of hard to believe it with all the snow on the ground, but summer is on its way sometime soon, and national parks are bracing for the crowds. At Yellowstone National Park, they're also bracing for crowds of drones. While the flying cameras are illegal in national parks, plenty of people still risk it, and as drones rise in popularity, more and more are being seen in the park all the time. Just last year, over 40 drone incidents were reported, and park officials believe there were plenty more flyers who just weren't caught. The concern of park officials is that drones will hurt or damage the park's features, the wildlife, or just the experience for those traveling to see the beautiful views. Signs are posted around the park to warn people of the rules, and officials warn that hefty fines could come to those who choose to fly drones in the park. Well, coming up here on the Noon News, we'll take you inside as Cascade County residents prepare for the worst. But first, snow over the weekend, and there's more on the way. Ed will join us with your workweek forecast right after the break.
You're watching MTN News with Samantha Sullivan, Storm Tracker Weather with Ed McIntosh, and Farm and Ranch News from the Montana Ag Network. This is the Noon News on Q2, Montana's news leader.